Children face a 2-hour limit on Snapchat and TikTok as government cracks down on compulsive screen time. I'm going to read into this more from The Independent, you guys. So it says the Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner has warned that increasing time spent online is having a profound impact on British society. And I absolutely agree. Just a reminder before we go further, if you can, hit that like button and share this across social media so others are notified of this video. It does have a profound impact on British society. It has an impact on all society. Social media is having that impact on all of us, whether we are young, whether we are old, even when we are seniors. It's having an impact on people. You know, not many people these days are. It's very hard for people these days to avoid social media. It's very hard for people to get off their phone, to not look at their devices and not look at social media, especially if you're somebody who is obsessed with it. It's very important to try, if you can, to limit yourself on social media. That is something that I personally have trouble doing. However, I also, at the same time, that actually helps me do the work that I do, social media as well. But we're talking about children here. We're talking about children. We're talking about them making sure that children here, of how much of them not spending too much of their heads in it, and making sure that, hey, there is a world outside your mobile phone, there is a world outside your computer, there is a world outside the room, the 4x4 room that you're in, that there is something out there. Now, luckily, there is still lots of children, lots of schools and education, obviously, that children are still being able to live to have still a childhood. But there is obviously a situation where we also have a situation where a lot of parents are not able to give the love and the care that they can give to their children as much as they used to, because guess what, we still have a cost of living crisis happening with amongst a lot of parents. So in that sense as well, what can happen, unfortunately, and it does happen with some parents, this is not all, this is some parents, I want to make that very clear, where parents, rather than making them dealing with their issues head on, a lot of the time they just give them their mobile phone, and then they're sitting there staring at the mobile phone, or they give them a mobile phone. And the question is, what age should a child be given a mobile phone as well? It's also another thing that needs to be taken into account. There's lots of things that need to be looked at here. Now, do I agree that there should be some kind of crackdown when it comes to social media with children? Absolutely. I think we need to make sure that children do not spend all their time on their devices. I think we need to do something that limits that time, to show them that, hey, there are things outside of your mobile phone. There is such a thing as books you can read. There is such a thing as watching the telly. There is such a thing as spending time with your parents and family. I do think something like this should be looked into. And the also other thing is it has to work in coordination with parents as well in order to make it work. It's not just enough for the government to implement some laws. We need to make sure that many groups out there, campaign groups as well as parents and as well as schools in coordination as well, are working to make sure this is done in the right manner as well. I don't think it's a simple thing. This is a very complex thing, I feel, because at the same time, the thing is, I don't agree with taking everything away, taking every social media completely away from them, or taking the fun completely away from them. But I do feel that children don't understand that you cannot be spending all your time on the devices. You cannot be spending all your time on social media. You cannot be doom scrolling TikTok and Snapchat all the time. It's just not good for the brain. You don't there'll be some things you might pick up on educational wise, but the majority of the time, a lot of it is not beneficial to you. It's just doom scrolling, and it's ebbing away at your life. I don't do, I've said this many times on my live streams. Yes, I do have a TikTok I use for Reganelite, that I use to upload short videos on this that I upload. But I never scroll the platform. I just upload them. I look at comments, and that's about it for my videos. I never actually go out of my way to scroll on TikTok to see what is sharing, because I don't want to get caught in that. I don't want to be caught in a doom loop of consistently listening to videos over and over again. But everyone is different, of course, and it's about, and also as parents, because I'm not a parent, but there'll be people listening who are parents. You obviously, as a parent, you have huge responsibilities on your shoulders. What you do around your child is just as important as what you do with your child as well. Because if you're always doing the same thing, your child will replicate you, whether it is a good or a bad thing. So children could face a 2-hour limit on social media like TikTok and Snapchat as part of the government's plans to crack down on compulsive phone use, the Science and Technology Secretary has said. So Peter Carl is due to make an announcement in the autumn, warned on the effects of young people's sleep and their ability to focus on studying for exams, saying that he was concerned about the overall amount of time kids spend on the apps as well as their content. Yep, I agree. Among the ideas being seriously considered are a 2-hour cap per platform, while a nighttime or school time curfew has also been discussed, according to reports. Last year, Australia passed a law to ban all under 16s from social media, although the UK is not expected to go that far. If I've said before about banning social media, like, I wouldn't have an issue if it was a bit younger. I think 16s is a bit extreme, but I understand the concern. I do. It comes as a new survey showed 1 in 5 children spend at least 7 hours a day using phones and tablets. That's way too much time. That's way too much. That's way too much. Mr. Carl said he was looking very carefully about the overall time kids spend on that app. And by the way, that is just one survey. I want to make that clear. Doesn't mean all kids, but it's just one survey. I think some parents feel a bit disempowered about how to actually make their kids healthier online, he told Sky News. I agree. I think it's very difficult for parents to find that line, because the thing is, if you don't want to vindicate your child, you want your child to be able to freely be able to express and do what it wants. But at the same time, you don't want to restrict your child too much as well. I think some kids feel that sometimes there is so much compulsive behaviour with interactions with the apps that they need some help just to take control of their online lives, and those are things that I really look at really carefully. We talk a lot about healthy childhood offline. We need to do the same online. I think sleep is very important. We're able to focus and study on it. Study is very important, he added. Yeah, I can see a lot of kids doom scrolling on their devices middle of the night, all night, instead of actually sleeping. That's another problem as well. He added that he wanted to stop children spending hours viewing content, which isn't criminal, but is unhealthy, the overuse of some of these apps. I think that's a good way of putting it. I think we can incentivize the companies, and we can set a slightly different threshold that would just tip the balance in favor of parents not always being the ones who are just ripping phones out of the kids' hands and having the really awkward, difficult conversations around it, he added. It comes after Angela Rayner warned on Tuesday that time spent online is a major factor for the weakening social cohesion in the UK, along with deprivatization and immigration. Warning that the UK faces a repeat of last year's summer riots unless the government shows it can address people's concerns. The Deputy Prime Minister said that the issue is having a profound impact on society. Again, I agree. She told colleagues economic insecurity and the rapid pace of deindustrialization, immigration, and the impact on local communities and public service, technological change, and the amount of time that we, people, spending alone online, and the declining trust in institutions was having a profound impact on society. TikTok and Snapchat have been approached for comment. Yeah, I don't think they're not going to respond. They're too big. They consider themselves too big to respond to something like this anyway. But these social media companies have too much power. We know they have too much power, and they have far too much influence over all of us. YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, Google, all these tech companies. Yes, even the one that I'm using right now. I'm not going to BS you guys. Of course, YouTube has influence over me because I'm a YouTuber. But yes, of course, all these platforms, all these social media companies, they have influence on us. And some of that influence is too powerful. And it needs to be reined back a bit. We need to have some control. And that's something the government needs to look into. Not just from children, but I also think as adults as well. Obviously, how you get around that is obviously a challenge. But I do think more needs to be done about this all. But what do you guys honestly think? What do you guys think about some kind of 2-hour limit on children on social media apps such as Snapchat and TikTok? It's just an idea, and some of the thoughts that have been shared on there are shared in this article. I generally want your guys' thoughts on this and more down in the comment section below. And if you're a parent, share in the comments how you deal with it. What examples do you use? But perhaps maybe other parents could take on board as well as examples. I'm really keen to hear your thoughts on this if you can. If you found this video interesting and informative, please hit that like button, share this across social media, subscribe if you haven't already. Do check out Rumble and Patreon for exclusive content. And if you want to financially support me in the work that I do here on this channel, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.